Good morning, Harris County, and welcome to the Homegrown Lecture, brought to you by the Harris County A&R Unit of Texas A&M AgriLife Extension. I am Paul Winsky, and I want to welcome you. I am glad you are here. We only have two more programs after today for the year of 2021. So it's pretty amazing how time flies when you are having fun. So today we've got a special treat. Ms. Teresa C. will be talking to us. She's one of our master gardeners, and she will be talking on rainwater harvesting. But next week, or in 2 weeks, we'll have Shannon Dietz. He will be talking about, so you want to be a rancher. So what goes into becoming a rancher and the finer points of that. And then we will close out the program for the year and for the quarter with Brandy Keller. She will be talking about making holiday plants last. So we're starting to wind down for the year. We will be back again next year with some changes, but things will move along. The other thing I want to mention is on the right-hand side, our Homegrown podcast. We want to thank you for those of you that have downloaded and listened to any of our episodes. They can be downloaded wherever it is that you prefer to listen and download your podcast from. We have a new episode that just dropped this week. Shannon talks with a sheriff from Harris County that is on the livestock unit. And it is quite an interesting listen to see how they work with ranchers and with folks that have livestock. So, as I mentioned, let me introduce Teresa C. She is one of our Harris County Master Gardeners, a super volunteer, a great speaker, and she's going to talk on rainwater harvesting. And the interesting thing is she has gone for advanced training. So Master Gardeners go through the sort of their basic training. I'm going to stop and sharing my screen so she can start to bring hers up. But she has gone on for some additional training, and she's got a great talk for us today on rainwater harvesting. So, Teresa, if you want to share your screen, and then I will put it up there.
And showing?
We will. Okay, it's there. We just need your the slide, so we've got the presentation mode.
How's that?
I'm sure it's going to come. There's a little bit. There it is.
All right.
All right. So without any further ado, I am going to toss it over to Teresa. Teresa, it is all yours.
Great. Thank you so much, Paul. And thank you, Shannon, for joining us also and helping to answer questions on the side. So I like to think of rainwater harvesting as not just saving for a rainy day, but quite literally saving from a rainy day. Oops. Sorry about that. Let's get this going. So we have a couple of links that you can click into that help with any kind of horticulture questions that you might have. And I will show this slide at the end as well, so you don't have to write that down or take a picture, and maybe Paul or Shannon can get those into the chat also. Sorry to call on y'all so soon. So some of the things to consider. You want to think about reasons why you want to collect rainwater. We had a kind of bad drought in 2014, but in 2011 we had a severe drought through most of Texas. You would drive through neighborhoods and you'd see bushes dying, grass dying, trees dying, and it just makes you think if you have a little extra natural water that you can collect, it helps out. Now, also as population increases, so does the draw on industry, agriculture, and the need for city water. So this picture in here is, once you get to know about rainwater harvesting, it would rub you the wrong way. There's a few things going on wrong here. So here, hopefully y'all can see my mouse. When they set up irrigation systems, quite often the people that do it, they set up the outer heads about 3 or 4 inches away from the cement. So whether it's the street, the driveway, your sidewalk, it doesn't need to be that close to the cement. You can have it 6 to 8 inches away from the cement. And you might be thinking, well, it's already there. How can I change that? I'm going to need a picture on me here in a sec here, Paul. So what you can do is you can, I'm going to show you a device that you can get. So what you can do is go to your box stores like Home Depot, Lowe's, don't want to forget Ace Hardware. And I have the device here showing, hopefully you can see that. I'm not sure if you can see that.
Yeah, it looks good, Teresa.
Oh, okay.
It looks
so
good.
This is a swing assembly, and it comes with this device here, but you don't need that. So what you do is you just pull back the grass and pull back the sand or the soil, and then unattach the head that's on your system, and then attach the swing assembly to that. So that attaches like this, and then you attach your head back on, and you can swing it. I recommend 8 inches away. So we're finished looking at this. You can attach it, you can swing it to about 8 inches away from the cement. And you might be thinking, well, that's not going to get the grass water that's closest to the cement. It will. That soil and that grass, it's like a sponge. The roots of the grass, it's like a sponge. It'll be absorbing the grass and pulling it to the grass by the cement. Now, some other things going on that bother me, the heads in the center of the yard. So this should be on a zone of its own. They're spraying a mist up into the air. So that's just going to catch, the wind is going to catch all the water vapors and pull that moisture to your neighbor's yard, to the cement. And it's just unnecessary to have it spraying like that. They have heads that will pop up and spray more over your yard, kind of like a 90-degree angle over your yard. And that way it's not a mist spraying up in the air waiting for the wind to catch it. Now, another thing that's going on incorrectly here is the time of day that they're watering. So they've got their timer set for the middle of the day. You're going to lose more than 50% of your moisture through evaporation alone. Not to mention, as the day warms up, so does mini turbulence, I guess you'd call it, and the wind picks up, so that's going to carry it away. But you're going to lose more than 50% through evaporation alone. So, let me go back to that. So ideally, you want to water your yard like 4 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning. And you might be thinking, well, if I do it at nighttime, the water will hold better. Yes, it'll hold better, but it might hold too much better. So if you water 4 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning, the moisture has a chance to seep into your soil around your vegetables, your ornamentals, your trees, whatever you're watering, your grass perhaps. And then as the day starts up, any excess will start evaporating. Whereas if you do it at nighttime, like maybe 10 o'clock at night, yeah, that water seeps in, but then the rest just sits there. And you probably will start having some fungal problems. So water is the oil of the 21st century. It's a very precious natural resource that we have. So we should try to not waste it. Like when you wash your car, rather than keeping the hose going the whole time you're washing, use a bucket. And if you need to keep changing out the water, fine, but you'd be amazed at how much water is saved by not running that hose. Take shorter showers. Sometimes, that's the part of luxury of the day is to have that shower just run on you. But if you can shorten it by a few minutes, you're helping out the ecosystem. So what is rainwater harvesting? It's the process of capturing, diverting, and storing rainwater for future use. Now I'm going to talk about some of this, but we don't have time to talk about all of it. So why collect rainwater? Why harvest that rainwater? Well, I've already mentioned a couple of things about the droughts and things like that, but it also reduces the amount of city water, the municipal water or city water that you use. It's a very efficient use of a valuable resource that we have. You can help reduce flooding and erosion in your area. So if you think about the different floods that we've had in Houston, certainly Harvey is probably the worst that we've had. It's the worst I can think of. But we've had other floods, the tax day floods and others. You can actually help reduce the amount of flooding. Now, we might not be able to stop the flooding, but you can reduce the amount of flooding in your area. So our area has more than 4 million people in it. Just think if half of that population had 2 rain barrels, that's only 100 gallons of water. So if half the population had the ability to collect 100 gallons, that's 200 million gallons that would not be going down the storm system when we need it the most, when we need that water to not be going down the storm system. And I would never say that to make you feel guilty, quite the opposite. I'm letting you know what positive impact you can have, positive difference you can make on the environment, the ecosystem. So it's also the best water you can use. In vegetable gardening, you want your soil pH to be slightly acidic. So from your left to your right, it goes from 1 to 14, with 7 being neutral. 1 is very acidic, 14 is very alkaline. And with vegetable gardening, you want like slightly acidic, so 6.0 to 6.5. And that's right at what the pH of rainwater is. So it's a great kind of water to use. Also, it saves you money. So I wouldn't want to try to badmouth the city of Houston and their ability to clean our water for us, because they do a tremendous job of cleaning all this, gooky water that they have to clean for us and put out safely for us. But when you capture rainwater, you don't have to worry about salt deposits, chlorine, calcium, or lime. And we already talked about the pH. So you want to make sure that you filter in, filter out. Consider mosquitoes. Mosquitoes is a huge factor in rainwater harvesting. You want to make sure that you put some kind of screening or cover over whatever you're collecting your rainwater in. Mosquitoes can breed in 1/8 of an inch of water. So just think of the field day they'd have in a rain barrel. So make sure that you're screening out rodent droppings, bird droppings, keeping out the catkins, keeping out leaves. Such a problem. But keep in mind that rainwater is not potable, not drinkable for humans. So if you look on the far left, that's the collection surface. In this case, it's a rooftop. See how nasty that is. You would not want to drink water that has gone across that. But you can use the rainwater for so many other things. Animals love it. If there's a dirty puddle of rainwater on the ground, that's where your dogs and cats are going to go instead of the tap water that you put in the bowl for them. You can use it in aquariums, terrariums, of course, in bird baths, and so many other things. Now, a big question is, well, how much rainwater can I really get out of this system? So a standard of measure is 1 inch of rain. So in 1 inch of rain, you can get 0.6 gallons for every square foot of collection surface. So if you have a 2,000 square foot rooftop, you can get 1,200 gallons of water. That's free. All you have is the setup charge, and the setup charge really isn't that expensive. So this 32 inches of rain is really in the Dallas area. We get in the 40s and 50s of inches of water in a normal year. That's not a Harvey, that's not a hurricane that's come through. So you can get a lot of free, good water in a year. So you might be wondering what size downspouts you be getting. For every 100 square foot of collection surface you'll be attaching it to, you want 1 square inch of downspout. So if you're doing a little shed that has 600 square feet, then you'll just need a 2x3. So I try to round down and try to round up and I apologize to all the engineers and accountants and scientists out there that, numbers are their life, but more people hate numbers. So this just basically 2 times 3 is the 6, and that's where you get the size of a downspout that you want to invest in. Now, if you have something bigger, like a 1,200 square foot of collection surface, then you'll want to bump up to the 3 by 4 inch downspout. And those are the two standard sizes that you'll find at your box stores, Home Depot, Lowe's, and don't want to forget Ace Hardware. They have everything over there. So these people, they already have one rain barrel set up, as you can see on the far left, and that's probably about 15 inches up at least. So for every 12 inches you go up, you gain 0.5 psi of, that's pounds per square inch of water pressure. The higher up you can go, the more water pressure you'll have. Just kind of keep that in mind. So you might think they might want to put their next barrel under this roof valley. Well, if you figure out where that roof valley is, because quite often that's right in the middle of your patio. And that's where you might want to have your morning cup of coffee, invite some friends over for an evening glass of wine, or grilling, barbecuing, having your kids and grandkids over. So you don't want a rain barrel right there in the middle of all of this activity. So you can get a gutter block that pushes that water off to the ends of the gutter, and that might be a more appropriate place for your rain barrel. Now, if you have a garden bed already set up, or you're about to set up a garden bed, if you can get the rain barrel a little closer to your garden bed, you'll be a lot happier. A shorter hose to get to it, or a shorter tote to your garden bed. Oops, sorry about that. So here they have their original downspout, and they couldn't quite get the barrel directly under it. They already had some riser with the cement off to the left of where it was coming down. So they just attached a flexible hose and then have it directly connected to their collection surface, to their rain collector, a barrel in this case. Now, if you do that, if you have it connected directly to the barrel, you want to make sure that you have some kind of overflow. So when you think about our area, it's dry, 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 and then all of a sudden, whoosh, the skies open up and that water is just pouring down, that rainwater is pouring down. It fills your bucket, and that pressure at the, right as the barrel is filling, it's going to eventually start tearing your attachment. It'll split it, rip it, tear it somehow. So make sure if you have it directly connecting, make sure you have some kind of overflow. Kind of hard to see their overflow to the left. It looks very small, but they do have one. Now here, this barrel, if I can get to it, there we go. This one, they have it hovering over the top. So as that barrel fills up, it'll just overflow out the top. Now, I'll go ahead and answer a question that is my most popular question. Where do I get a rain barrel? That is the ultimate question, and I'm sorry I don't have the best answer for you. What I would start out with is, if you have a friend that has a barrel, find out where they got theirs from and try to go to that source. The main thing is that you get a barrel that's food grade. You don't want to get a barrel that has had a herbicide, an insecticide, some kind of corrosive material. You want to keep away from those things, because those chemicals can penetrate the interior wall, and you wouldn't want to be spraying water from a barrel that has had a herbicide in it, because that's going to kill your plants. So just make sure that it is food grade and safe for your plants. So here the kind of barrel that they had access to has this rim around it, and you can kind of see the clamp right here in the foreground. So just make sure that you have your screening cut at least 2 or 3 inches to hang over the side here, and then you put the rim over it, and then you clamp it down. So this one on the far right is more like the barrels I was making for our plant sales. I would cut the hole off to the side, but a lot of people like it in the very center. If you look real close, you can see that not only have they caulked, but they have also screwed it in. Now, I like to use the more flexible screening, and you can get all kinds of screening from your box stores, Home Depot, Lowe's, and don't want to forget Ace Hardware. and there's a little area where they have all kinds of screening for you. I keep away from the metal screening, although this could be used. Just the metal screening is not going to caulk very well, but you can screw it down and it does fine. So in this picture, the HOA could see the barrel from the side of the house, or the homeowners association could see the barrel from the side of the house. So they just took the flexible downspout and wrapped it around to the back of the house. This is a barrel, it's usually about 60 gallons, and it comes with everything. This lid screws on. It usually comes with about 3 discs, and you can see that those holes in this disc are way too big. Mosquitoes can come and go as they please. And even the other 2 discs that usually come with it, the holes are still too big. So what I would recommend you do, take 2 of those discs and cut some screening and sandwich it in between the 2 discs, and then screw all that onto your rain barrel. Oops, sorry, one more picture if I can get to it here. So the stool here is about 12 inches, and if you look real close, it's on some stones. So they're about 15 inches up. So if this is about 3 feet up, so there's 4 cinder blocks, and the side of a cinder block is usually 8 inches. So they got 4 cinder blocks plus an extra slab here. So they're about 3 feet up. So that's 3 feet times the 0.5. So that's 1.5 psi. Plus, when the barrel is full, now this is actually even taller than a 3-foot barrel. It's actually about 39 inches, but we'll just round it down to 3 foot. So 3 foot and 3 foot is 6, so 3 psi. Now it's technically for the water column within, technically they say 0.433, but there I go again, rounding up in this case. So I'm just going to say that's 6 feet, so 3 psi. Now that's not going to run a lot of your irrigation systems. Some of your irrigation systems need 15 psi to make the emitters emit properly. But you can certainly run a soaker hose, and some of the irrigation systems will run something on that low a psi. There's all kinds of different kinds of emitters. There's some that run at 1 gallon per minute. There's some that run at 6 gallons per hour, and everything in between and around that. So you should be able to find something that works for you, and if not an irrigation system, a soaker hose will work for you. So here they had a barrel, liked it, and so they added on a barrel. Now they're just using a garden hose here. And when you think a garden hose, the inner dimension is only 3/4 inch if you're getting the bigger of the 2. Usually they're either a 1/2 inch or 3/4 inch. So if you think, again, it's dry, 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 and then all of a sudden the sky just opens up and whoosh, that water is just pouring down, and it fills up the first barrel, and then it wants to fill up the second barrel, but it's only 3/4 inch. So it's, that's where the traffic jam is. So I would recommend, if you can get an overflow of at least 1.5 to 2 inches, you'll do yourself a favor. And you can get all kinds of PVC fittings that are not expensive. I haven't priced them recently, but a few years ago it was well under $12. So I'd say it's still well under $15 for everything you'd need to get it to the second barrel. And then you want to have an overflow of some kind on that second barrel. So here the HOA said, we just don't want to see a colored barrel on the side of your house. So they have all of this vegetation. They just painted it brown and it looks natural. And here they're about 12 inches up. Excuse me. So an HOA is probably not going to be concerned about a structure like this, but I would still recommend talking to your homeowners association before you go through trouble, building this or whatever you're going to do to set up. I would talk to them first. So here we go. So you can put filters. So this is the whole filter, and it unscrews here. This is the actual filter that goes inside, and you can get different porosities for, maybe you have some grainier soil or bigger pebbles, and so you can change those out. And there should be an indicator as to which way the water is flowing to let you know you attach here to the left because the water is flowing to the right. Sorry, having trouble getting, there we go. So this is kind of bumping precariously into the soil, even though the cinder block is 8 inches and they've got at least a 4-inch slab of cement here. So if you have these bulkhead fittings, which we'll talk about a little bit in a little bit here, you can unscrew it and turn the faucet or your hose bib to the side, and that way you're not bumping into the soil. I'd love to have this much mulch around my garden beds. They've got their filter and everything here. So here they've got a splitter and they've got a regular garden hose on one side and the filter and irrigation on the other. You can even put timers on here, and then they've got it shut off on this side, but just open it up and then put a timer on. So here, this is one of many things that they sell to catch leaves, and that's where you're going to have your biggest problem is leaves and bits of leaves getting into your system. Now I had plenty of room on the slide, so I showed you just some kind of caulking that if you use caulk, not everybody is going to set it up where they use caulk, but just keep in mind it's very hot here and it's moist and it's dry and it's moist and it's dry and it's moist and it's dry. So, your caulk can take a beating. So after a few years, you might have to change it if it's getting bumped around. Like if you attach your hose bib or your faucet directly into your barrel without using a bulkhead fitting, and you're tugging on, if you keep a hose connected to it and you're tugging on it constantly, then you'll probably have to reapply caulk, because you will want to caulk around that when you set it up. So after a few years, you're probably going to want to reapply because it starts cracking with all the tugging that goes on. If you do a bulkhead fitting, you're not going to have to worry about that. So in our advanced training, some people left the hose bib or faucet facing down and some left it turned to the side. And that way, that hose can be coming out without bumping in. Now, some people just can't get that barrel up high. And no shame in that. We all do the best we can out there. So if you're not going to be able to get that barrel up high, then you might want to have your faucet turned to the side so you can attach a hose or, gain access to it. So when I walk around doing talks, I bring my little salesman samples. So you're probably not going to be using these tiny barrels. These just represent a 55-gallon barrel. This is 4-gallon, 5-gallon, 6-gallon. So this is 55-gallon. To show you, if you have, say this is half full, I'd be able to see the water level in this kind of barrel because of the color of it. If you can see the level of water, that means the sun can get to it. And you can probably guess that means algae can start forming. Now the algae is not going to hurt your plants, but it'll eventually give you problems with your hose bib, your faucet. So here they've got green, painted green. Here they bought some sleeves. They just call them sleeves, barrel sleeves. They call them other things. I don't know of anyone that has sleeves, but I think they look good. And the HOA, the Homeowners Association, probably would not mind this a bit. They even painted the cement, the cinder blocks to match it, so it looks nice. But you'll want to cover it somehow if you have that color of barrel. Here they had fun painting. If you don't like to paint, either you got a kid, a grandkid, or there's bound to be a neighbor that's just dying to paint something for you. So, ask around. Somebody else will be glad to do it for you. This one's a little bit bigger container, and I just picture a basketball team having fun painting this. Now here, this is a little bit bigger. It's 100 gallons or maybe a little bit more than that. They had it on the side of their house, and the HOA came around and said, that doesn't quite work for us. So they put this trellis in front of it. Now keep in mind, if you're going to screen something with vegetation, a bush, vines, whatever kind of vegetation you choose, make sure that you get an evergreen rather than something deciduous. If it's deciduous, In that name, that means it's going to drop its leaves in the wintertime. And here comes that HOA member in the wintertime that says, that just doesn't work for us. So just make sure it's an evergreen that you're covering your rain barrel with. So this just looks like it was built with the house. I think it's very attractive. So I'm going to skip right past this one because that just bothers me in so many ways. So here they had a blue barrel, and that's nice because you don't have to paint a blue barrel because you know the sun couldn't get to the water. But the HOA didn't care for the blue barrel. So that's like my HOA. My HOA does not allow a blue barrel. So if you can show from my angle again, I'd like to show the barrel that I painted. Can y'all see this?
Hold on, Teresa. Let me
Yes,
send it
we can
live.
see it, Miss Teresa.
Okay. So I was at Michael's one time and I saw this wonderful stencil. I thought, well, this is perfect. So my barrel has to match my front brick. So that's the fun I had, and is painting that to match the brick. So somehow just keep those HOAs happy. So this one is a huge one. This is more like 15,000 gallons. And I picture a whole football team out there painting this barrel. Now, when you get into the real big ones, I try to stick with residential rainwater harvesting. One, because that's what I'm better at. Two, because I feel like I'm reaching out to more people than as if I were talking about the bigger ones. But when you get into the bigger ones, look at this overflow here. And then you have first flush, and you'll want to pump and things like that. So it's a whole different ball game when you get into the bigger ones. So let's see if I can get to there we go. So this one, it's about 15 inches up, and I just love this. Now you can put all kinds of things to keep leaves out. You can put gutter guards. I think there's even the name of a company that's called Gutter Guard, but you can put all kinds of screens on your gutters to keep leaves out. And then you can put different things along the downspout to keep them out. So if you can imagine the water coming down this downspout, there's a screen or slats in here that catches the leaves. And then this has a hole in it where you can just reach your hand in there. So here I go again. If you can show my screen again. So this one is a less expensive one that I got it upside down. So this one is a little bit less expensive than the one that they show on the screen. But if you look inside, it's got the plastic slats. In the top, it's it can screw on however you want it, and then you just reach in here and collect any leaves that get caught. Now you might be thinking, well, lots of leaves can get down there, but you can just cut out some screening and put that in. Hopefully y'all can see that. Put that screening in there and catch a lot of leaves, and then just every once a week or whatever, just go in there and reach in and pull any leaves out. So there we go with that. So have fun painting it. And here, this one, you might notice the brick, it's probably only up about 4 inches. But again, we do the best we can. If you know you're not going to be able to get it up high, that's fine. Just make sure your faucet is up high enough where you can either put a hose to it or your watering can or something. It's not a competition. We're not trying to be the highest up. We're just trying to get water to our garden beds. So here they had a lot of fun painting. This one, I just picture being out there in the afternoon with Earl Grey and crumpets. And I'm from Texas. I'm not from Michigan. Maybe you like Star Wars, whitewater rafting. Ooh, that takes me back. Maybe you like ducks, flower power. So, or maybe you like to hunt, or maybe you just like hiding from your spouse. And here's one for perfect for the retired barber. So this was in the Dallas area. This is a school in the Dallas area, and each one of these was 750 or 1,000 gallons, a lot. So they could do a lot of help for their landscaping. And we had, a few years ago, we had our Master Gardener Conference in College Station, and you were allowed to go on outings. So I went to an outing at Aqua Greens Farm. Wonderful place. Just, you know, their thoughts behind it, their care for plants and people and everything. So they had these huge collection surface. They do aquaponics. So it's got the fish and everything into the whole system. They had these huge rain collectors, and I noticed when I took the picture, you can't really tell how big they are. So there were a couple of ladies that were on the bus with me, so I hope they don't mind I took their picture. But that shows you how very big these are. And then this gets pumped across the way where they actually, you know, have the fish and have they're growing their vegetables and everything. And this is at the demonstration garden for A&M, the Brazos County Master Gardeners, and they have demonstration garden to the left of this, and then they have a covered area for doing outdoor talks, and then they have this whole collection, rainwater collection here. They even have a little pump house and everything. Wonderful. So this was at Bear Creek before we flooded out with Harvey. The cylinder gardening kept a lot of their supplies in the shed, and I kept looking at this thinking, well, that'd be perfect for a rain barrel. And Paul and Skip gave me permission to put one up, and one of my fellow master gardeners, Milton, oh, he helps everybody with everything. He did all the measurement, all the cutting. He even took me to home.
Teresa?
Oh, do you see that?
Yeah, Teresa, you froze on us. All right, folks, hang in there. Let's see if she can get back on, or if her connection improves. Let me answer a couple of these questions. Marion's got one. Is it safe to use the water that has come off the roof shingles on our edible plants? Absolutely. It's not an issue. As Teresa said, it's probably one of the better quality that she had, better quality water that's there. It looks like she's trying to get back on. The other question is, what about the chemicals that may come off the shingles? With the amount of water that comes off, I don't think there's any issues with regards to chemicals in that water. Heidi asks, is rainwater something I can give to my farm animals, or would I need to filter it somehow? Shannon, do you have any thoughts on that since you're our ag agent?
Right, yeah. So it's Heidi, I'm not sure if you're meaning rainwater coming directly from the sky, gathering in a trough, or if you're talking about like what Miss Teresa's using as far as rainwater harvesting through a filtering system like this. But either one would be fine. Farmers use natural rainwater in troughs all the time, so that way you would be covered. And so I'm pretty sure that it wouldn't affect them on the through the rainwater harvesting barrels. I would have to, Heidi, if you would want more information on that, I'd have to do a little bit of research, but just natural rainwater collecting in troughs or any other types of collections would be fine to feed your or to give your livestock.
Okay, let's see. It looks like Teresa's trying to get back on. She was doing this from her house, so maybe there were some technical difficulties with the Wi-Fi. Let's give it a couple minutes and another minute or two and see if we can't get this figured out. I believe, Shannon, this is the first time this has ever happened to us.
Yeah, that is true.
So we'll.
And I'm not sure if everybody noticed the links I did. Oh, okay, and Paul posted them too. So
yeah, the links for A&M, there's a lot of good information there. There's a lot, there's additional, especially that main website gets you there, and then it allows you to, let's see, uses of rainwater. So whether you want to use it for landscaping, there's sections on in-home use, wildlife, livestock, fire protection, stormwater management, and rain gardens. So let's see, Heidi had the question about farm animals. It looks like there is a section in there with regard to livestock and using rainwater harvesting. So I believe it's yep, it looks like there's quite a bit of information and additional links there on it. So
and I would just from Miss Teresa, I know she would probably be interested if anybody wants to, if they currently have rainwater barrels or systems in place that might offer different alternatives, or you might want to submit pictures of some of your rainwater barrels or creations, or how you have them set up, or how you have them decorated. You're more than welcome to forward those on to Paul or Brandy or myself, and we'll be glad to share those with Miss Teresa. So I know she's very open to always looking at new ideas and stuff like that.
Okay, Teresa, can you hear us? All right, hold on. Let me allow you to present. Okay, turn your mic back on, Teresa.
Okay, there we go.
There you are.
There we are.
Thanks. I almost didn't answer Brandy's call because, but I thought it could be a problem. Okay, so let me go ahead and share. And let's see. There is my rainwater harvesting.
Teresa, everybody they all hung in there, so they are nobody left. So you've got their attention.
Apologies, I'm sure it's on my end, and I appreciate y'all's patience.
Not an issue.
Well, now I can't find. Okay, let's see. Oh dear. Okay, let me try sharing again. Ooh. So, slideshow from the current. Does that show?
We're not seeing your PowerPoint.
Okay. Let's see. Let me get to. It says stop sharing. I'll do that, and then I'll try to share again.
Is your PowerPoint open?
It is.
Okay.
And oh, here we go. This might. How's that?
All right. We just need your presentation mode. We're seeing your. There we go.
Okay, super. Okay.
All right, well, folks, here we go.
Okay, so I don't know if y'all heard about, I apologize. I'm sure it's at my end, so I apologize to everyone. I'm not tech savvy, so I appreciate all of your patience. This was at Bear Creek, and before Harvey, I asked permission to put a rain barrel display on the outside of the shed that the cylinder gardening people stored most of their supplies, or a lot of their supplies. So Milton, a fellow master gardener, helped me with everything. He'll help anybody with anything, and he helped me. He did all the measurements and all the cutting. He even took me to Home Depot to buy all the parts, and then he says he made me install it. I say he let me install it. So when Harvey hit, this shed, the whole shed picked up and was moved like 50, 75 yards, but the gutters and downspouts were still attached. So if you have an overflow like this, it's nice and big. I would scoot it up just a tiny bit. And then also mosquitoes can come and go as they please. So you want to just kind of force some screening or something in there where water can come out, but the mosquitoes can't go in. So here they have all these wonderful overflows attached. Now this is at the Houston Arboretum. These are this is 1,600 gallon, and I just think they had a blast painting that. Now I somehow skipped over the slide that talked about having your barrel level. So it's so important that your barrel is level. So when you're first setting up, whether you're going to have it go up high or put it, somewhere close to the ground, make sure that the soil is level that you're putting it on, because I'm going to round down here. 1 gallon of water is more than 8 pounds. It's actually like 8.314 or something. So I round it down to 8. So if you have 50 gallons, that's 400 pounds that could be teetering, waiting to fall on your foot, your pet, your kids, your grandkids. And if you can imagine, through time, if there's one side constantly lower than the other, it's going to keep getting lower. So just take a few minutes to level that ground real good before you start either putting cinder blocks up. Keep in mind a cinder block is 8 inches on its side. So, 2 of those, of course, is 16 inches. Now with cinder blocks, quite often HOAs don't want to see those in the front yard, but if you paint them, they probably won't have a problem with it. So before we build a rain barrel, should we take some questions?
Actually, Teresa, we went ahead and handled them while we had those technical difficulties.
Yay! But, thank you, Paul. Thank you, Shannon.
But one of them, the gist of it was, is there any issues with the water that comes off from the roof shingles and using it on edible plants?
No, there's not. Unless there's something toxic on your collection surface, but our shingles are not, they're safe for having the water just go over it and then go through the barrel and then come out onto the plants. Really good question. Yeah.
Okay.
We want to make sure.
Yeah. The other one was, she was concerned, are there any chemicals that come off of those shingles? But it sounds like you just said that that's not an issue because the water just runs over the top.
Yeah. That's correct. Now, if you know that, I think there probably could be shingles out there that, old ones that might have some bad chemicals, but I wouldn't think anything that has lasted through today that's still covering a roof would be toxic. So there should be no problems. Really good questions. Thank you.
Okay.
Anything?
You are good to continue.
Okay, let's go ahead and build a barrel. So you'll need your barrel. You'll need some kind of screening. You'll need your hose bib or your faucet. Now, notice it says 3/4 inch. They do come in 1/2 inch. Just get the 3/4 inch. That's what most of our hoses are, and that's going to allow for better flow. You'll want some kind of drill, and then either a jigsaw or a hand saw. If you're going to caulk, then you'll need a caulk gun and caulk, of course. And then this is a bulkhead fitting. Now, some people are not going to mess with the bulkhead fitting. They're just going to drill a hole in the barrel and then screw in the hose bib or faucet. If that's the case, then you'll just be drilling about a 1-inch hole to screw in the faucet. And then you want Teflon tape. So first you're going to need to drill a hole in the top. That's where the rainwater is going to get in. Now here they have a hole saw. This particular hole saw is about 6 inches. That's what they drill the holes, you know, the canister lights, the recessed lighting that you might have in your ceilings. The one that I used, I guess it's a hassle to show me again, but I just got this little set from Harbor Freight. It has all kinds of real inexpensive things, and you can get a whole set of, it's an 18-piece set, and the biggest hole saw they have in there is 5 inches, and that does fine for rainwater harvesting. Now, if you don't want to buy a hole saw, then you can just find something round and draw a circle on the top of your barrel, and then you need to gain access for your blade to get in there so you can cut. So you want to drill a hole big enough to get your blade in there so you can cut. Now here they have a jigsaw, so they're able to cut a hole pretty easy. And it doesn't have to be perfectly round. Don't kill yourself, but try to get it as round as possible. And then get that disc out of there, that plastic disc you cut, get it out of there. So now we need to drill a hole near the bottom where the faucet or hose bib is going to go, and the bulkhead fitting in this case. I'm going to show you how to do with the bulkhead fitting. So the size hole that you drill depends on the size bulkhead fitting that you got. If it's a 4-inch bulkhead fitting, excuse me, that's a big one. If it's a 2-inch, then drill a 2-inch hole. If it's 1 5/8 inch, make sure it's 1 5/8 inch hole. So drill that hole. Get that plastic out of there. And this is a good time to just turn that barrel on its side and see all these shreddings that come from your plastic. Just get that out of there. Sometimes you might need a little water to flush it out, but just tilt the barrel and get that plastic out of there. Trying to get to the next slide. Okay, so now you need to get the interior part of that bulkhead fitting into the hole that you just cut at the bottom. Well, these barrels are more than 30 inches tall, usually. Now, you might have a barrel that's taller than that. Again, it just depends on what kind of barrel you can get. So to help you get that down to that bottom hole, you can take a yardstick and take some kind of tape. Masking tape is real inexpensive. So if you have some masking tape, do 3 or 4 whirls around, and then turn that masking tape 180 degrees to where the sticky side is on the outside, and do a few whirls around. And then you can put the interior part of your bulkhead fitting, it'll just stick to that. And insert that, reach in and insert it. Now, if you have a buddy to do this with you, it goes a little faster. I couldn't even count how many of these barrels I've done by myself, but it's always more fun to do it with somebody else. So one person can insert that and the other person can receive it. So you just kind of hold that interior part that's threaded. It's kind of hard to see, but that has threading on it. And then attach the outer part. Now, some bulkhead fittings come with no gasket. Some come with 1, some come with 2. If it comes with 1 gasket, go ahead and put it on the inside of the barrel and just hand tighten it. You don't need to use any gadgets to tighten this, because it's going to be plenty tight. I mean, it's going to hold plenty snug enough. Now, if you look real close, there's threading right there, and that's going to receive your faucet or hose bib. Now, when you put your Teflon tape or Piper's tape, just do 2 or 3 whirls around. Try not to do it too thick, because when you think about it, this is hard metal going into hard plastic. And if you can't see where those threads are going, or if you can't feel to get them lined up, then you risk cross-threading the hard plastic. And that's where it's a little bit more expensive than just to give you an idea, this might cost you $7 for a decent one. And this might be $12, depending on how many you buy, where you buy it from and everything, just to give you an idea. Now, you might want to leave the faucet turned to the side. You might want to end up having it facing downward. So now we need to somehow close up that top. Now, one way of closing up the top, and there's many ways. This is one way. It's kind of fun to caulk. So give yourself a generous bead of caulking, and then take your screening. Now, you want that screening to be at least 1 inch more on each side than the hole you cut. So if it's a 5-inch hole, you want that screening to be at least 7, I said feet. If it's a 5-inch hole, then you want that screening to be at least 7 inches. And, of course, if it's a 6-inch hole, then you want it to be at least 8 inches. Now, some people cut off the corners. I like to leave the corners on and use disposable shop towels. The paper towels from the kitchen just fall apart on you. So I have found the disposable shop towels are the best. And then just work your way around brushing outward, just constantly working around brushing outward. Take your time on this. You want to make sure that you get every bit of that screening stuck down. So another way of doing it, instead of what some people say, the hassle of caulking this down, and you can also put a screw in here to hold it down. But another way is to just take I guess if you can show me again, just take one of your garden pots. As we buy plants from the stores, we have all these garden pots, and get one that has a lip on it and just pop that in there. And then you take some screening and get at least 2 pieces of screening and kind of cross it over and plop that down in the bottom. And you might want to put some rocks or something just to make sure mosquitoes don't get around it, and you'll be good to go. And that will keep you from seeing all that water going down in the storm drain. You can be collecting that. So are there any other questions?
Teresa, no, not at this time. It is looking good. I have a question. What is the advantage of using the bulkhead as opposed to just attaching the spigot, through the bottom of the barrel that way?
Really good question. So when I used to do the barrels for our plant sales and such, I used to do just screw in and then caulk around. So you want to make sure that you caulk around if you're going to be screwing it into the barrel, just for added security. Of course, use Teflon tape too. But if you have it where you keep a hose attached to it and you're constantly tugging at that, then you're eventually going to have to replace that caulking that you've put on it. So, maybe every 3 years or something. Whereas if you do a bulkhead fitting, you can tug on it some, and you don't have to worry about it doing damage around that faucet. Plus, if you decide that you want the faucet turned to a different direction, you can just loosen that bulkhead, adjust the faucet to a different direction, and then retighten that bulkhead. And a reminder, just tighten it by hand. So real good question. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I think that is it. We were able to handle the questions. Thank you all. We did have some technical difficulties, but we made it through, and that's not an issue. Teresa, I want to thank you for your time and your knowledge and sharing it with the folks here in Harris County and beyond. I know I learned something every time when I listen to one of your talks, so I really do appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
All
Great
right.
job, Teresa.
Thank you,
All
Shannon,
right.
also. And good luck, Master Gardeners, new Master Gardeners.
All right. Yes, the Master Gardener class is finishing up today. Today is their last day. So I want to thank you all for joining us for this homegrown session. We will be back in 2 weeks when Mr. Dietz will be talking about So You Want to Be a Rancher. So until then, have a great day. Have a happy Thanksgiving. This time next week, we will be getting ready to sit down and have some Thanksgiving dinner. Turkeys will be cooking, and the house will be smelling real great. So until then, thank you, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Happy Thanksgiving.